everybody.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
welcome again to another episode of Delight and Fright. This is Kat down here. I'm
Hello.
Luna, and we have returning guest in the house, CJ. Welcome back, CJ.
Thank you for having me again. I had so much fun last time, so I'm looking forward to this.
Or should I say Shaun?
Well, I'm already ginger, and I had the badge, so it was half half there already.
Nice.
I love the cosplay. Thank you so much for coming in. That definitely lightened up my day.
Excellent.
Let's go ahead and roll the preview just to get us started, just in
Oh my
case.
god.
If you have not seen the trailer, I will go ahead and show it now.
Do you ever think that modern life is not for you? Do you do the same dead-end job every day? Is your love life dying on its feet?
To a wonderful mum.
Or have you ever felt that you're turning into the end of the world? A zombie? Maybe you're not alone.
Piss it. Although no one official is prepared to comment, religious groups are calling it Judgment Day. It is vital that you stay in your homes. Avoid all physical contact with the assailants. So, what's the plan? That seems to work out. Why have we got that lizard? Because I love her. All right, gay. Wait there. I'm coming. Here they come.
Oh my gosh. Obviously not coming soon because it's been out since 2004. So that's a little, it's a trailer. It's supposed to be like coming soon.
It's 20 years old. 20 years old this year. That's amazing.
Damn it.
Oh
This
yeah, it's the
reminds me
20
how
year
old I am.
the 20-year anniversary. We have Tyler in the house saying, "Love Shaun of the Dead." And John says, "I love this movie." Yeah, it's a cult classic. It's become a cult classic. What do you think, CJ?
Yeah, I think not only is it obviously a great like comedy slash horror movie, it's actually one of the most important films that the UK have ever made. That sounds like a bold statement, but a lot of the Shaun of the Dead was like the crux of all kind of underground British comedy at the time, and also it launched Edgar Wright's career really in terms of Hollywood. Some viewers may be familiar with a TV series called Spaced, which Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright made for Channel 4. Channel 4 was our alternative channel. We only had 4 channels back in the late 90s. We had 4 channels, 2 BBC channels, ITV and Channel 4. And so Channel 4 showed all the comedy, and Spaced was the show that launched Simon Pegg's career. And Nick Frost was Simon Pegg's flatmate. And Edgar Wright was like, I need a partner in crime for this TV show. And Simon Pegg was like, well, Nick Frost is my flatmate, and he's basically funny as, I don't know if I can swear, but he's funny as fuck, basically. And so that's how they got together. Yeah, I try not to, but anyway. So that's how they got together. And if you watch Spaced, there's 2 seasons of it. I think it's 7 and 8 episodes in each season because it's obviously British, so we keep it short and punchy. You can see a lot of the humor that developed into Shaun of the Dead from there. So it was already had a good cult following here. But I think it's such important as a British movie, not just a horror movie or a comedy movie, but because it just appealed to like so many people of a certain generation, and has become a cult classic since, just as a simply brilliant movie. It's a great story. It's got good action. It's got a couple of jumps if you're a little bit squeamish, if you're not used to horror movies. Some brilliant humor. It's like a real snapshot of British humor at the time. A couple of things that are in there you probably wouldn't get away with now, in terms of like some things that especially Ed says you probably wouldn't get away with now. But yeah, it's just an awesome snapshot of that, and launched the careers of all three of them, really. Edgar Wright as a filmmaker, obviously Simon Pegg as a Hollywood star, and Nick Frost to a certain extent as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I do have a quick question for both of you. I'm gonna be kind of jumping around a little bit, but the burning question that's been on my mind since I rewatched this now, as I recently started expanding my vinyl collection, and I wanted to know, you know, that scene where Shaun and Ed keep like throwing vinyl in the yard at the zombies. And then he's like, not that one, that's Liz's. And then they're like chucking vinyls and picking out which they're going to get rid of and which they're going to throw at their heads. Which would you guys want to throw on their head? And which one would you be like, do not touch that one that's currently in your collection?
Well, I wouldn't throw records at them. I wouldn't expect it to really cause any harm, but I guess if that's all I had, I wouldn't sit there, and I probably would panic and not like sit there and have the time to be like, what the heck is this one? I'd probably just take the whole box, and like maybe with the extra weight, it might actually do something. But I'd probably do I have some of my dad's old records and my grandfather's, and there's some that I can't even play. It's for like the Victrola. So maybe those would do a good, really get in there, because they're really thick.
What about you, Shaun?
Well, I don't actually own any vinyl anymore. The only vinyls I've kept is my UK first edition print of Bleach, the first Nirvana album, which I would not throw at a zombie, because it's obviously a lot of sentimental value and it's worth a fortune. And I've got a couple of 7-inch singles. I've got the first Prodigy single and Smells Like Teen Spirit I've got on 7-inch, and I wouldn't throw them either. Maybe my Machine Head album, just because Machine Head are so heavy, so that will knock them out.
Believe it or not, this was not part of my collection, but when I was moving out of my old flat, as you guys in Britain call it, I was like gifted. It was like, oh, here, take this box. I was like, cool. And in there, I found a bunch of vinyl that was like Bill Cosby, which I did not even know he made music. It was like some Bill Cosby vinyl. I chucked that first. Ew, I don't want anything to do with that whole situation. So I
You want some pudding?
no, we are not having pudding. But yeah, I chuck that. I definitely chuck all of that. All of the stuff I got gifted. Like it was just like cool vinyl. Maybe there's golden hair, and I'm like, oh, this is why I was gifted it, because it all sucks. So I'll start with that box first. And I have a like collector edition ghost vinyl that's printed on like glitter, like it's
Nice.
a 12-inch. It's printed on like green glitter. I definitely wouldn't want to toss that. That's like my do not pile. But everything else, like I have a Tears for Fears album that I'm like, it's just
I don't mind Tears for
Why the
Fears.
Tears for Fears? Why?
I don't mind them. They're all right. I grew up on Tears for Fears.
They're all right, but I mean, if it's my last one and I have to,
Well,
I
you
guess
gotta
I
think about
would.
too what you can rebuy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And what you cannot. So
Yeah, that's true too. But yeah, that's about it as far as that's concerned.
and in rewatching it again, I kind of I've watched it many times, but this time I was able to kind of pause and see all the newspapers when he goes into the convenience store. And I thought that was pretty funny that already it was already starting, right? The GMO crops, the all kinds of stuff in the newspapers hinting the virus and whatnot. And everybody's just kind of, going about their day, kind of, like COVID is like, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Because
But
in
I
like
thought that was
almost
funny.
in like sort of true Romero fashion, they don't actually explain I think right at the end, I think they explain the virus, but they don't explain it throughout the film. A bit like Romero did with Night of the Living Dead, the original.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no explanation for it. But it's interesting you point that out because the film is full of Easter eggs. It's a film that every time you watch it, I mean, I must have watched it like literally dozens of times, and maybe even 100. I don't know. I've seen it loads, but every time you notice something new, there's loads of Easter eggs in there for like fans of obviously the original Dawn of the Dead, which apparently Romero quite liked. Romero actually liked Shaun of the Dead, which is the biggest compliment you can get. But yeah, things like the badge, like the Forey Electric, is a nod to Ken Forey, who's in Dawn of the Dead. He's the actor, one of the actors
nice.
in Dawn of the Dead. Landis, the supermarket. Now that obviously everyone knows John Landis for American Werewolf in London, but what you won't know in the States is we have a chain of like real kind of Jippo supermarkets called Londis, and it was a play on that, but obviously with John Landis's name. So I think Mary, the checkout attendant, has got a Landis badge. And all the like at the beginning when they're just like pushing order in the supermarket, they're obviously just humans and not zombies, but it's an amazing piece of social commentary because that is how society even is still today. It's probably worse because everyone's on their bloody smartphones all the time, but as a social commentary it runs throughout the whole film really subtly. It's not preaching, but it's just there subtly. It's absolutely brilliant.
I definitely like that. Just going back very briefly, Tyler said the Batman soundtrack, throw it.
Yes, definitely. Toss it.
Oh goodness. But yeah, I noticed when I watched that, CJ, I also noticed that before they were the Z word, they were already like zombies because they were like, they were just like shuffling around, living in this mundane kind of environment and not really living. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was making. We are sort of social zombies in that respect. I thought it was very, very clever, and also I love the fact that they said you can't say that, you can't say the Z word, because again it was a Romero thing that Romero never used the word zombie. In fact, I think the word zombie, in reference to his films, came from Dario Argento, unless I'm mistaken, because he called Dawn of the Dead zombie when he released it in Italy, and that's how that word became attached to that sort of genre of undead films. I know it's a Haitian word, isn't it? I think originally zombie. In its sort of proper definition, but in reference to the films, it was Argento who kind of seemed to coin it as a title, and then it became used popularly. But I love the fact that throughout Shaun of the Dead, they're like, no, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't use a Z word. This is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always wondered why. I was like, why can't they use the Z word?
Because Romero never used it. It's as simple as that. Romero, and to my knowledge, never used it. Certainly his early films, he just didn't.
And you gotta love the "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
Yeah,
love
that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
It's just perfect. And I like how too. And Night of the Living Dead, it's the comparison, who are the real monsters, and then you have Shaun of the Dead, who are the real zombies? Is it us? Or you know what I mean? Like they're just eating people, they're getting free food. We're choosing to give away our lives to buy food and to go drinking and to do things. The zombies are just they're just getting what they need right now. Who's really the zombie?
That's a fantastic parallel to draw, actually. That's a really good observation.
I like that. I like that a lot. Since we're going into this kind of discussion of like thinking about this in that kind of light, in this kind of like what is, philosophical conversation, I want to pitch you guys a very philosophical question that I thought about. At the end, when Shaun decides to keep somebody, sorry, a little bit of a spoiler alert, guys, but at the end, he decides to keep a certain person as a pet of sorts. Is this it? If you were in this situation, would you keep like a zombie friend as a pet, or do you think there's a possible ethical issue in keeping a zombie alive as a pet? Like, what do you guys think about that?
I'm against it. I wouldn't want to see my friend like that. Like even if, they were seemed okay and seemed happy, I want them to move on in some form or fashion. Hopefully maybe they already have moved on and the body's just kind of there. I would hope for that. But just to be sure, I would make sure that they were bye-byes and buried or whatever they wanted so that, I could meet them in the next life or something.
Yeah,
I've just
I
written,
like that.
I've just written nope on your question, your pre-show note question. I've just written nope. No, wouldn't keep somebody as a zombie. No, because
No.
I mean there is like the what's the word? The way Kat just described it. There's a kind of like compassionate reason for not doing it. But just the fact I'm not keeping a zombie around. No, why would you do that? That's insane.
Yeah, and then Chris said a very valid point. Not only did they keep one, but they were using them on TV game shows too. I thought that was really, I mean, I felt it was unethical because it's like, bro, they're dead. Like, they're rotting corpses. Just let them go. Like,
But
and
then that
still,
goes into the question of, because now with CGI becoming as good as it is, if they have a holographic scan of any actor, they could technically make them continue to do movies forever. So isn't that kind of like using a zombie, even though the person is gone, just using their corpse for your own doing, your own ends?
That's an interesting angle.
it is, yeah.
I'd have to disagree though, because obviously a hologram is a
This is a
non-existent
physical
thing, but this is a physical use of it. I mean, because you don't know whether a zombie inside still has some kind of like social understanding. That their brain might work, but they just can't communicate. So maybe they're like, it's no different to keeping dogs, I suppose. Dogs are probably slightly less intelligent than zombies, and that's the question you don't know. As a hologram, you're creating a hologram, you're in control of the hologram. And you can turn it on and off because it's basically it's a non-existent thing. It's not a sentient thing, whereas a zombie is arguably still a sentient thing. So keeping them around for like game shows and stuff, no. The only thing I'd use them for is for army training.
And see, the message that I got after that when they were doing the whole game show thing, I thought, man, society really wants to milk us. Even if we're zombies, they're still going to find a way to capitalize on us because those game shows probably rank in a lot of money, a lot of views, a lot of, you know what I'm saying? A lot of partnerships.
Absolutely.
So even if you're a zombie, you're still going to be utilized as a machine to be made money into. Like, I thought that was sick. And
I mean,
that's
I don't think it's ethical, but I believe it would happen.
It would happen because of the society that we're in, where people are just seen as a cash item, not real, like not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's another example of what I said earlier on. It's a subtle piece of social commentary. The film doesn't preach, oh, you shouldn't do this. This is bad. It just kind of shows it happening as a news featurette, and then obviously we'll have to draw our own conclusions. So they do it, and it's kind of quite amusing the way they do it. But underpinning that is a bit of like, this is probably what would happen. There is a very real danger with humanity's, don't get sort of too political, but with humanity's history of using those that they see as below them for their own ends. Then there's every suggestion that it can happen with zombies if you kept them alive. It's probably
True.
It's the most subtle way I could put it, and it probably would happen. And the movie kind of does go there, but I say it's very subtle because it's not trying to make a point that you should or shouldn't do it. It does it in a sort of oh look, this is probably what will happen.
And let's lighten the mood a little bit. I have a question for Luna. Did you, when you saw a certain individual in the film, were you very excited considering he's kind of part of your fantasy horror obsession?
Yeah, totally. I was like, ooh.
This is Nick Frost. You've met Nick Frost, haven't you? You need to tell us about this.
Yes, he was so cool. He even wrote in here, Kat, I'll stop doing them if you stop laughing.
Aww.
That's brilliant.
He was such a kind person, and you know, sometimes when you meet certain celebrities, they may be worn out or just be fed up with the events and just be like, here's your signature, bye, kind of thing. But he was such a kind and caring individual. He seemed genuine and charismatic and wanting to like talk to people. So he was very nice to talk to, and he's funny as fuck in person.
Yeah,
And I was surprised that his line wasn't long. I was like, what the hell? Y'all are stupid. Like, get in this line. Like, he's going to have more fun. And sure enough, he took his time. We took a billion pictures. We could do I did like a GIF with it, with all the pictures he took of us together.
Yeah, because he did like a snapshot. Because
he just like held it down.
Yeah, he was doing like a snapshot, and he wanted to do the selfies. He's like, I got this, because he's just so funny like that. And then he was just like controlling the selfies.
They added him to the event like so last minute. I guess he decided or found out that he was available last minute. And I had some people that I knew that were like, damn it, if I knew he was going to be there, I would have went. But, now it was out of the question because everything was so expensive and packed. But Luna, did you notice Bilbo in there? Martin Freeman?
Yes, I did.
He's in all three of their films.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere. He's in Hot Fuzz, The World Ends as well.
So I watched this it's funny because his name's like something Freeman.
Yeah, Martin.
Martin Freeman. Thank you. I was just like, I didn't call him that. When I rewatched this, I was like, oh shit, Bilbo is in this.
See, he started in The Office. He was Tim in The Office. And whilst I was explaining to, just for the viewers, I was explaining to Luna off air that how Channel 4 was like the home of a lot of UK comedy. And then there were a few series which the BBC had. The Office was one of them. The original proper Ricky Gervais Office, not that terrible remake.
Yeah, I'm sure it was much better.
He was in that as Tim from The Office. That's kind of where he started. But all of the the UK comedy actors used to appear in each other's shows all the time. If you watch Black Books, which is Dylan Moran, he's in that. He makes a there's that scene where they all meet by the fence, isn't there? They all kind of look a bit like each other,
and they pass each other.
Yeah, every single comedian in that is somebody who's been a known comedian in this country. You might not have picked up on it on the other side of the pond, but they're all well-known actors from TV shows in the UK, and it was kind of a bit of a who's who of comedy. I think the only person, I know Kevin Eldon, wasn't it? Yeah, Kevin Eldon's in it as well. So they're all just people who are like all in either The Office or most of the Channel 4 shows, like Black Books, like the IT Crowd, like Spaced, which I was talking about earlier.
I love the IT Crowd.
Yeah, it's just a brilliant nod to that whole thing.
Yeah, we were talking off air too. We're just like, man, the IT Crowd is so good.
And Luna introduced me to that. Thanks, Luna.
You're welcome.
I was addicted, of course, once I started watching it.
You're very welcome. I love all the British stuff. I'm always here, so I think I'm gonna nap CJ to do a bunch of British episodes.
Find, though. They make us subscribe to the BBC specific channel if you have any streaming service or anything to watch them most of the time, and it's aggravating.
They make us subscribe to it as well. It's called the TV.
Really?
License. Yeah, I won't get into it, but you're legally required to check this out. Right, this is how stupid Britain is sometimes. Right, it's a great country, but there are some really fucking stupid rules, and one of them is you have to have a license to watch live television. If you don't pay it and you watch live television, you can go to prison. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wait, what? You can go to prison for watching TV?
And isn't there ads?
Yeah, without a license.
Isn't there advertising on TV?
There is. The license is to pay for the BBC specifically. And you're not supposed to watch BBC broadcasts without a television license. We've had it since time immemorial. It's ridiculous. No one pays it anyway, which is why the BBC is going down the toilet, because they haven't got any money to make any programs because no one pays a TV license because it's stupid.
Has anybody gone to prison that you've heard of for not paying their BBC
No,
license?
not that I know of. It's one of those maximum penalty scenarios, the most you could do. But you do get fined if you're caught watching TV without a license, and people can come knock on your door and say, have you got an aerial plugged into your telly? And if not, they make you buy TV licenses. It's nuts.
Whoa.
It's nuts. It really is. It's crazy.
Wow.
And when I explain it to people like yourselves, they look at me like, that's like, might as well go and do armed robbery if you want to go to jail. You know?
Yeah, like might as well do something good.
Yeah.
Well, they're
exactly.
crunching down on us too with the Netflix and everything. You used to be able to like share your login with a bunch of people. Now they find out they charge you extra per
Yeah.
each account you're sharing with. Yeah.
Yeah, you get that kind of penalty where it's like you're sharing accounts. How about we hit you with these fees real quick?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does feel a little bit Big Brother. It really does. But
for
there
sure.
you go.
Wow. Well, thanks for enlightening us about prison. I definitely wouldn't thrive
I've
in
not
it.
been.
I'm sure the prisons are nicer and they don't just throw you in solitary like here and just like, here's your food.
God, you guys are so wild. I love it. I love it. So, going a little bit into the British community and all of that, CJ, since you are an expert, you're our resident British expert for this evening. How do you think Shaun of the Dead affected British horror?
That's a really interesting question because British horror was already on like enjoying a really sort of what's the word, like an explosion, if you like. Well, not always quite an explosion because it's British, so it's very sort of it's underplayed, but it was enjoying a rise because obviously 28 Days Later came out 2001, 2002.
It was 2002, 2 years before Shaun of the Dead.
That's that when it came out in America though, because I think it came out here in 2001, but I'd have to hashtag fact check myself. Because I remember, just as a side, I remember seeing the trailers when I was in Canada for 28 Days Later, getting like a mad push, obviously in North America, because they're really, really, really pushing it. And I was in Canada 2003, I think. So maybe it was 2002 in the UK, 2003 North America. But anyway, we digress.
You guys get a lot of the better box sets too. I'm a little jealous about that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the horror box sets and special editions are only for Europe. Like they won't play here. You can buy them, but you'll have to like get a unlocked DVD player or whatnot or Blu-ray.
Oh right,
true.
Yeah, they make it a pain.
How dare they? So yeah, I think not much came after Shaun of the Dead in terms of British horror that I can immediately think of. It did wonders for British cinema, and it certainly did wonders for Edgar Wright because obviously they finished the Cornetto trilogy with Hot Fuzz and World's End, but then Edgar Wright went on to do Baby Driver, which has. And if you become familiar with Edgar Wright, you can see the things that he uses. His like I don't want to call them tropes because they're like his signature things, but like in Shaun of the Dead when they're having the fight with the pork cues to Queen. That was like one of his things, you know, where there's like action going in time with music. And if you watch Baby Driver, that whole film is synchronized to the soundtrack, which is just brilliant. If you've not seen Baby Driver, it's an amazing film. It's so well choreographed.
I loved it. It's awesome.
So that's Edgar Wright, and you don't make the connection instantly until you kind of watch moments in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz where it's choreographed to the music quite cleverly. And then he does it to the extreme in Baby Driver. And then obviously Last Night in Soho was his most recent, like the horror.
That's really picture. Great.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So it put him on the map, I would say. And British horror was already it was already doing all right because when we've got a history of good horror movies, obviously the whole Hammer House of Horror in the sort of the 40s and 50s and so on. There we go.
Chris
Someone
said
agrees.
Baby Driver is fucking great.
There we go. And 28 Days Later. I mean, no, not talking about 28 Days Later, but one thing 28 Days Later imagined was the zombie and the whole debate: are they zombies? Are they infected? That came about because they're actually technically infected, and there is a conversation that people have, which is pointless because they're just undead of some sort. That's all they need to do.
It just matters which kind they are. If I'm going to survive, or I'm done. Like if they're fast, forget it. Like it's not happening. I'm not making it.
Exactly. But Shaun of the Dead, they're traditional slow zombies. They're like more like Romero zombies, which you can just walk away from at a quick pace. You know, you can just sort of and then obviously So to answer your question, Luna, I think it was part of a real boom in UK horror at the time. I think not much came after it, to my knowledge, but obviously viewers can perhaps correct me on that because I personally followed from that what Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost did through that timeline in particular. But I will
this
say,
one, Simon Pegg wrote it with him. I'm not sure what else Simon did. He write for Spaced as well?
yeah, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, they did Spaced, and then they wrote the Cornetto trilogy, which is if you watch in Shaun of the Dead, they eat red cornettos. In Hot Fuzz, they have blue cornettos, and then in World's End, they're green cornettos. Which is quite clever thing.
Yeah.
And if you go to a place called Wells in Somerset in England, which I've been to, you can go around and see where Hot Fuzz was filmed. So yeah, you see, you got the trilogy there. You see, and you see the colours on the backdrop. That's the colours of the cornettos in the movies.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you go around Wales and you can go into all the shops where Hot Fuzz was filmed. You go in and buy a cornetto. I confess,
Nice.
I went in and bought a cornetto. Yeah,
I'd love to go there, Kat. Let's go take a trip to Wales.
Yes.
Wales, it's Wales, not Wales.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mexican. I have a Mexican accent. You have to forgive me.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's great.
It's my accent. Sorry, mate.
Your Mexican Southern accent.
Yeah, my Mexican
The
Southern twang came out. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I won't attempt a Mexican accent. I feel I'll probably upset somebody. Plus, my Spanish is remedial at best. If I want to speak Spanish, I'll just put "los" at the beginning and then like pluralize it with "os" at the end and make it sound Spanish.
Yes.
That's hilarious. So, question for you both. What do you guys want to see more in the British horror market in the future?
That's a good question. You were asking earlier about like what what came first as far what came after Shaun of the Dead. Zombieland, what year was that? I'm curious. I'm sure it was after Shaun of the
Yeah,
Dead.
2009, I think.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did. It came out after Shaun of the Dead, and I actually was going to point that out that it opened up for Shaun of the Dead opened up for things like Zombieland because they're both comedy horrors about
Yeah,
zombies.
because I love that it influenced that, you could tell, and that gave us some great stuff. So from like Luna's always loving and obsessed with, maybe some fantasy horror might be interesting to come out of the
Yeah.
UK with a little comedy as well, and I think that would be a lot of fun.
Well, they did after Shaun of the Dead. Nick Frost and Simon Pegg did a movie called Slaughterhouse Rules, which was 2019. So it's moving on a little bit in British cinema, but they have kind of gone back to it, where it's filmed in a public school, which is basically a private school but super posh. It's an elite private school, if that's what public schools are here. And in that, there's I think it's an alien invasion, I think, in the woods, in the school grounds, and it kind of does crazy stuff. So that's a very funny comedy horror. That was much later. And obviously we had Cockneys versus Zombies as well, which was nothing to do with Edgar Wright, but that had Alan Ford in it, who's Bricktop from Snatch. And that's basically that they dig up this old tomb, and then a zombie comes out and infects all of London, basically.
Nice.
If you get a chance to see it, it's very funny. Cockneys versus Zombies.
I have not seen that or heard of it.
Yeah,
I have not. Ooh.
It was on Netflix, but I appreciate that our Netflix is different to your Netflix, obviously. But I must say, there is a lot of good underground horror at the moment in the UK.
Really?
I find that the one thing that like UK comedy horror, if you like, or UK horror has, is there's a very definite there's two definite vibes which UK horror films can take, which make them stand out from a lot of others. One is this like understatedness. If you watch a lot of budget horrors, there's a very like understated vibe to it. It's not in your face. It's not jumpy jump scares. It's not big orchestras. It's not mad ghosts. It's just a what's going on kind of thing. And then obviously there's comedy horror, which we do rather well, I must say, like Cockneys versus Zombies. But if you dig into the underground, you're both on the Slasher app. There's lots of independent British filmmakers. One in particular called Mycho, M-Y-C-H-O, and they did probably one of the most British horror movies ever. Called Pandemonium, about a guy in a panda mask that basically goes on a slasher killing rampage in an office party.
Nice.
It's very funny. And some of his lines and his delivery are really, really good. And you can tell it's a budget film, but it is brilliant. It is so well done. And people like Maiko, I'm just picking them out because I've seen a few of their films, are kind of, they're making a lot of really good stuff on the underground, but it's not big budget. It's just good stories, good dialogue, and focusing on what we do well as a country, which is, basically funny shit.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Like in
that.
Monty Python, they didn't have money for horses. Let's get 2 coconuts, and it's the funniest freaking thing ever. It's resonated to film after film. It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
exactly.
I love that. I love that. I think I'd want to see more like we recently reviewed The Elder Gods by a British director that we
It was
actually
the older gods, right? Older,
yeah, The Elder Gods, yeah.
older.
So we love that, and I'd love to see more of that, like things that happen either in London or like you said, Wales, or more mystery. Like I love the mystery side. When you guys do mystery, you guys do it pretty well. So I like that. Like like more cults, like a secret murderous cult and like kind of underground, like
Have you
No,
seen the UK version of Sherlock, Luna? You'd probably really like it.
No, I have
It's
not
that
yet.
Bilbo. It's got some
Ooh.
Bilbo. Well, lots of Bilbo actually. He's
Ooh, I want to see
he's
that now.
Watson.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I love that it's a UK version when we invented Sherlock Holmes. But that's a different story. But yeah, the Woman in Black, that's probably a notable UK horror film. I think that's Daniel Radcliffe.
Yep.
That's
I've seen
a
it.
good film. Yeah, that goes for, again, the highlights what I was kind of making earlier, the point I was making earlier about that being so understated and kind of like, scary. It kind of it creates a sense of intrepidation by what it doesn't tell you, that kind of like unknown factor.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it leaves it kind of like up in the air, and that mystery of it, you're like, it's unsettling.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. That's awesome. So I have a question for both of you. What was your favorite funny moment or quote for Shaun of the Dead?
You go first, DJ.
How long have you got?
I know, right?
Because when this movie came out, I mean, I was like 2004, so I was 27. I was at age where I was out a lot with my mates, drinking a lot. We went to the cinema to see this movie like a couple of times, watched it on DVD like a couple of times, so on and so forth. I love also, just as a side, have you seen that it's in the bargain bin in Hot Fuzz? There's a copy of Shaun of the Dead in the bargain bin in the supermarket in Hot Fuzz during the shootout.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
It's called something else, but anyway. So we it's one of those things where like we go out for a few drinks, a few cheeky beers, whatever, go back to someone's house, and then like let's put Shaun of the Dead on, and we just watched it, and we could quote it ad infinitum. So picking out a favorite quote is really, really hard, but we found ourselves like quoting it in the pub. So like, for example, we sit down and someone will go, "Can I get any of you cunts a drink?" Like as Ed would have done, or like. And our friends with glasses were starting to get a bit leery, whatever. It would be like, or someone's getting a bit shirty. Get fucked, Four Eyes. That would be thrown at them as well with our mates. So yeah, we used to just quote it all the time. So I can't pick out a particular moment, to be honest with you, just because the whole film has just got so much, meaning to me in terms of enjoyment.
Nice. I like that answer. That's a good answer. What about you, Miss Cat?
I think it's, what we should do tomorrow? Keep drinking. And then when they're going over the rich and interesting characters in the bar, that's just too much fun. Like I've always done that. Like when there's nothing to do, you're just like, what's this person doing? Just kind of figure out their deal. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that you mentioned that, and that's so funny because I love that part. Because I've definitely done that before, especially on my 30th birthday. No shame in my game. I went on a cruise with a few friends, and we were just like, "What do you think that guy does? Oh, he's probably sells meth on the side, and that's how he paid for this." And like we were just, just like saying shit like that, and it was just so hilarious, giving people like backstories at the pub or whatever. I like that.
That's ace. But I mean, that's again why Shaun of the Dead was so good in terms of like UK culture, because it was pub culture taken out onto the whole theme, or the comedy, or the jokes and the banters, or bants as they call it these days, was basically pub humor. Obviously, we have a massive pub culture here, and I think we still do. We certainly used to, certainly in my youth. And it is a lot of like pub culture going on in that film, with obviously heads being set in a pub.
And I love Peter Serafinowicz, if I'm saying it right. He's just hilarious. He was in The Tick from 2016 to 2019, which is just freaking hilarious. I wonder if you know any other shows that, because you said they were all part of a comedic troupe. Was he one of them as well? His roommate, the big guy.
Yeah, he was in Spaced as well.
Okay,
in Spaced.
nice.
So at the beginning of Spaced, Simon, what's his character called? Tim breaks up with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend starts seeing Peter Serafinovicz's, Peter Serafinovicz's character is like his best mate or his mate or something like that. And his girlfriend starts seeing him like a few episodes into the show. So like arch enemies, and there's like they keep sort of popping up. So he's not like a regular character, but he pops up here and there, and basically sort of he's always putting Tim down. That's the whole sort of premise of his character. Like there's an episode where they go paintballing, and they're like, I think they're on the same team. And he's just Peter Serafinovich just putting Simon Pegg down the whole time.
Nice. So what was y'all's favorite kill?
Ooh. I'm gonna say it because he was my least favorite character, but David.
Oh, really? What, because he's so moany?
What was that, Pussy Boy? Was that the crybaby?
Yeah, the one that was like, just throughout the whole movie, he was just so annoying, and I'm like, this fucking wanker needs to
He
get
was the one that got
already.
sucked out the window, and they got all his innards.
Yep.
Yes, that was mine too.
See, that's Dylan Moran. The actor who plays him is Dylan Moran, Irish comedian, and he did Black Books. Have you ever seen Black Books? No. Dylan Moran and Bill Bailey. That's why he was in it. He's again another well-known actor on our scene. Definitely, there were so many good kills in that, and it's actually not talked about for its kills enough. People talk about it for its comedy value and maybe its social commentary, but the kills, I'd struggle to pick a favorite kill actually. That one is quite good, where David gets pulled out the window, and that's quite gory, isn't it? Where they start pulling him out, pulling out all his insides and that sort of stuff.
And he's still screaming and completely aware.
Yeah.
The another really good one that I was like, oh my god, was when they're running to get to the pub, and then he kind of kicks the zombie, and then he like through the stomach and stuff.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know. I thought that was A tier. The whole blood and effects that they use. Maybe not effects, but practical. More like practical stuff that they did. I was like, whoa, cool.
And you gotta love the first chick that gets the hole in her body. And then the camera, you could see the two of them behind the hole in her body. And I love that they play around with her at first, get the camera, like, oh, she really likes you.
Well, it's all practical effects, isn't it? There's no, obviously, in 2004, there's no CGI, or certainly no budget for CGI. There's probably a little bit, like here and there, they use it in post-production. But they didn't have budgets for CGI. CGI was very expensive to do then. So it's all practical effects. It's all proper makeup, and obviously a massive cast of extras. And they're all in. There are lots. Again, if you watch the film enough times, Edgar Wright has got a cameo as a zombie. Somebody else quite famous. There's quite a few famous cameos as just zombies in the background. Again, they're known people in the UK sort of comedy and cinema scene. That's quite good. Because didn't Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have a cameo in Land of the Dead as well? Because George A. Romero liked Shaun of the Dead so much. They're the two zombies that are chained up in like the sort of circus type thing, isn't it? That's them too. They're in the cages.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah. Oh man, if I was him in this situation, I would be like so pumped because George Romero is just such a genius and such he's like one of my heroes. So if he asked me to be in his movie, I'm like, put me in a circus as a freaking zombie, do whatever. I don't care. Just let me be in one of your productions, you know? I think that's such an honor.
Absolutely. So the guy who invented the whole genre there's no higher praise than that, is there really?
Right.
He was always working. The family's going through a lot of his old writings and things. He was constantly writing. So I'm interested to kind of see what they may come up with later, going through that and maybe, adding stuff to it as well to kind of see what they can get out of his musings. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
One always hopes, your old journals are going to go somewhere,
Well, in zombies is just a timeless genre of film, isn't it? You can reinvent it a little bit, like 28 Days Later did, but you don't need much of a storyline or an excuse to have a viral outbreak and make a zombie film. So you can keep making them ad nauseum if you like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the zombie kind of horror genre just is so the market is so large. You have things like Train to Busan, which is that more Korean? Is that Korean?
Yeah,
if I'm
that's
not
Korean.
mistaken.
Yeah, I've yet to see that.
Oh, that's really good.
It's really
and what
good.
was the follow-up to it, Luna? The second one's called something else.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, okay. I think there's a 3.
All right.
Oh, we have a new movie idea by Chris. New movie, Romero plus Mel Brooks zombie movie. Ooh.
Nice.
Well, if he could direct from Beyond the Grave, that'd be awesome. But I don't know.
Well,
possible.
Mel it's Mel Brooks' son that did World War Z, right? That wrote it.
Is it?
I believe so.
Oh, right. That's a fantastic film. That's such a good take on the whole genre.
Yeah, the book was good, but the I didn't like the movie too much. So it was so much CGI. I think it was just too much.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of World War C just because of the camera. I got very sick. I used to not be able to get motion sick, but now like I'm like, ugh. Like if the camera like shakes too much, I'm like, my eyes hurt.
Oh. I quite enjoyed it. I thought the way they did the whole sort of sickness thing at the end, I thought was kind of quite clever, really, to be honest with you.
And then Chris said, yes, Max Brooks wrote World War Z. So you're right on that one. That's awesome.
And it was a good game as well. It was a good video game. Well, the World War Z video game was great fun.
Awesome.
I haven't played it. I tend to get with video games, if they're like that, if they're super intense, I just get so nervous. I'm like, I just like throw the controller. Like, I can't do this.
It's killing zombies. What's not to like? I mean, there are so many great. We could do a whole episode on zombie video games. There's so many brilliant ones. It's ideal first date is go out and kill some zombies, isn't it?
I'm just not good on the shooter games. I get like by the time I get it all lined up, like I'm dead. Damn it.
I've been playing for a while this really fun game called 7 Days to Die. And it's like a really fun zombie survival game. It's like Minecraft, where you have to go out there, find resources, mine for ore, just mine stuff and build your little like outpost. But zombies come in waves, and then at every 7th day, the blood moon comes, and the blood moon makes the zombies enraged, and it's kind of crazy. It's a crazy game. I haven't made it that far. I've only made it to day 3.
I've played that a little bit. I think I made it to day 1. It wasn't slow paced for me.
Oh no. It is very slow though, because you have to get all the tools and you gotta do the barrel rolls and you gotta make everything. So
Did you ever play Left 4 Dead?
I did. It's one of my favorites actually.
Now, one thing that no one's ever been able to answer for me, because I don't think it's either a legitimate coincidence or nobody's talking. Left 4 Dead 2 has a level on a what's it called? Like a fun theme park with roller coasters and all that kind of stuff. And that is exactly the same as the end of Zombieland. We mentioned Zombieland earlier on when they go to Pacific Playland.
Oh, yes.
And the shots, the clown with the honking noses, the weapons are even the same. The weapons you can have in Left 4 Dead 2 are an M16, a shotgun, an Uzi, or a pair of like 9mm. And they're the exact guns in Zombieland that they have on that whole thing. So it's too much just to be a coincidence, or it's the most amazing coincidence of all time. I don't know. But no one's ever I've never been able to find an answer as to whether that's a deliberate nod from one to the other, because I think the game came first, or they may have come out at the same time. I'm not sure. But no one's ever been able to pin that on there. I just wanted to mention that as we're mentioning Zombieland and Left 4 Dead. But the games are great. All the games are great. Back 4 Blood's great. Left 4 Dead's great. World War Z was great.
So I believe it was from the second Left 4 Dead.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, level called Carnival.
Yep. And then Zombieland. See, I don't know, because the game came out in 2009, and Zombieland came out also in 2009.
Yeah, that's why you can't get a clear answer on it.
Oh, it's weird. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if, one of the people got involved with the project at Valve, or I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, they had to be working on them around the same time.
Yeah, I think they were developers, and there was some link between the developers or the producers or whatever, just to make like an in joke. I mean, there's a running. Well, we've gone off topic here, so sorry, but there was a running joke with zombie games for a long time, where on Xbox Live you get an achievement for doing certain things, and in one of the games, I think it was the first Dead Rising game, which is one in the supermarket where you just kill zombies with like golf clubs and all this kind of stuff. And there was an achievement for killing like a fixed number, like 58,000 and some change. And that was the population of the town where the apocalypse had happened. And then another zombie game came along. It might have been Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2. And they added 1 to this number to make an achievement for that. And then subsequent games, Dead Islands, and then another Left 4 Dead, and then another Dead Rising. They just kept taking it in turns. Dying Light, I think, does it as well, to add 1 to this number and make an achievement for killing that many zombies. It's a brilliant in-joke, like a sort of continuous joke.
Well, I think Zombieland was actually designed to be a show. It was they wanted it to be a TV show initially. That's why every the kill of the week or whatnot, that was going to be a big part of it. That's why they kind of left that in there. But they tried to get it as a TV show, but I guess the execs wouldn't write off on that. They didn't want to fund it.
I'm glad they did, because it's a brilliant film, and I don't think
it is
more than that. I mean, the second one was quite good as well, but I mean, Zombieland is just it's the US Shaun of the Dead. There you go, it's your Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, you can't beat that. And I was wondering when because zombies, at least here, the zombie culture really kind of after The Walking Dead really got off the charts, and everybody seemed to be into zombies. So Robert Kirkland's comic came out October 8th of 2003. So Shaun of the Dead was like right after that, or at the same time, right? Because we didn't get it till later.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've never sort of read anything from Simon Pegg as to what his influences were. I know him and Edgar Wright were big fans of Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero anyway, and they planned the Cornetto trilogy to be 3 very different premises for the movies. So they're just like, well, what can we pick? Because zombies, obviously Shaun of the Dead's a great kind of play on words as well. The Hot Fuzz obviously is like, kind of like secret cults, and then you've got obviously aliens in World's End.
And you gotta love Paul. Oh my god, I love Paul so much.
I wasn't too hot on Paul. That was a film that felt like it was made for America. The humor wasn't on the money that like Edgar Wright, like Simon Pegg can be. It felt like it was
more
made
pervy. I think that's what the American spin on it. The humor's more pervy.
True. The American market. And then the British market is more like funny. They have that cheeky.
And we all want to see the Jesus freak just flip the fuck out, right? And be like, "Dick's cock," all of a sudden that was just epic.
Nice. Well, do you guys have any more questions for each other?
I saw in your show notes about favorite characters, and you said what character we relate to. I thought that was a good question.
Ooh, yeah. Kat and CJ, what character do you guys relate to?
I'll let Kat go first.
I probably relate more to Shaun. I'd be the one trying to save everyone's asses, and they'd be complaining the whole damn time, but I'd still figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, CJ?
It's got to be Ed for me. Just
Ed.
just for his lines and his whole doesn't care attitude to life. It reminds me of me when I was, in my 20s and drinking a lot.
Yeah. Oh my God. There was one line where Shaun said, "I'm already 29," and I like paused for a second. I was like, "Holy shit! I'm way older than that," and it does not feel like that. Like I'm past my 30s already, and I'm like, "Wait, he was 29 during this?" I was like, "Whoa." You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It just feels like he was way more mature than 29.
Yeah.
Even if he was going through a lot. For me personally, I think I resonated a lot with the character Liz. She wanted more for herself, and she was very interested in just self-preservation. And hey, I deserve better. I don't want to. At 29, I don't want to keep going to pubs and doing the same old shit. I want to travel. I want to, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like kind of like she was going through like a midlife kind of crisis in a bit there, because she's just like so willing to like change her life and want to travel and want to change things up and not want to be stagnant. And I kind of feel that a lot, actually. So I felt that.
Yeah, she's like the sensible stick to which like a lot of the storyline is stitched to, isn't she? Because she is like the sort of the thread of common sense throughout the whole thing. Because obviously people forget that like the original tagline for the film was like a romantic comedy with zombies, and there is a romance storyline in there. Because obviously when we first talked about doing something for Valentine's Day, Shaun of the Dead was like, well, that's the only one I'm going to do, because that's love and romance and zombies. What more can you want, And it is a romantic comedy in that respect, but it's not obviously. It doesn't have Hugh Grant, thankfully, and doesn't have that kind of sickliness running to it. But there is obviously little elements of romance. And what I love about Shaun, what a lot of us kind of like relate to, was the kind of way he bungles his way through the whole relationship from start to finish. He forgets stuff. He forgets to book the table, and then like they're too late. So he's like, "Oh, Winchester," That was so typical of like so many people that I knew at the time, and probably still do. The way that like just blokes just bungle our way through relationships, especially in the early days of them. So I thought a lot of the characters were very relatable in general, and again. It's very UK centric in terms of its humor, but what's amazing is how it has translated and how it's obviously taken off in America as well.
And I was wondering, CJ, since you mentioned zombie romantic comedy, have you seen Warm Bodies? And if so, did you like that?
Yes and no. Yes, I've seen it, and no, it was terrible. It was absolutely awful.
Facts.
That's all I've got to say. Is some emo kid. I mean, what's an emo kid doing in a zombie movie? No, I'm sorry. I was just no.
It was definitely a different take on it. I mean, but it kind of like, it's like having your sparkly vampires, you have your sweet loving zombies,
Yeah, I could see the appeal of it if you were like, 15 and you were into the Twiglet films, then I can see the appeal, and fair enough. But as a fully grown adult male, no, it was absolutely
no
pants. That's what we would call it. It was pants.
It was pants. Is that our British term that we're learning for the day? Pants.
I believe they're called Briticisms. A friend of mine uses that term.
Oh, Britishisms. Yeah. What does
Briticism,
pants mean? Like, how do you use that word? Like, if
Pants,
something
well,
sucks, or
Yeah, it's rubbish. Yeah. Like because underpants, we just call. I know you call trousers pants, but we call them trousers. And then what you wear underneath your trousers are your pants or your underpants. We just call them pants.
Okay.
And if something's like complete pants, it's just rubbish. It's useless.
it's like calling somebody something. Oh, that's just underwear.
Yeah.
But
I
it
suppose it
sounds-
doesn't really translate, does it?
It doesn't translate well, but it sounds. I'm gonna start using that. Oh, that thing's so pants.
Do
Nice.
it.
I like it.
I will use that from now on. Thank you so much, CJ, for teaching us a new British word that we will probably use a lot.
Yes. To people who don't know what we're saying, I just insulted them.
That guy is so pants, man. That's interesting. Oh, could you use that word to describe a person?
No, it's
Oh.
got to be an inanimate object or a movie or a fictional thing.
Oh, fictional.
No,
You
because
can't.
if a person's being like a bit of a a silly sausage, then you can. Oh, there's other things you can call them, but no, it's more for descriptive of a work of art or a song or a film.
Oh, okay, I see. Perfect. Now I won't use it
I'm
incorrectly.
taking the silly sausage. I like that.
Silly sausage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
What's
very
this-
phallic.
Yeah. Look at that silly sausage over there and his pants DVD. That is so funny. Well, we reached 1 hour, guys. The time flew by.
Brilliant. It has flown. Time flies when you're having fun and zombies.
Too much fun, and I'm so sad that we have to end our show. But before we end the show, do you guys have anything else that you guys want to throw out into the ethers or anything you want to say?
No, I don't think so. We covered everything.
Thank you for joining us again, CJ.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love coming on with you ladies. It's always fun.
CJ, are we doing a birthday? Are we doing a birthday party?
Yes, you mentioned this. I'll talk to you about it. Because remind me when it is again.
Okay, it's March 29.
March 29. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yes, you guys heard it here first. Maybe a birthday party.
You gonna start your Amazon wish list, Luna?
No, we're just doing maybe a stream for the viewers, but not, nothing, no Amazon.
I saw a car the other day and it said, "It's my 21st birthday, buy me a drink." And it had like their Venmo or PayPal or whatever. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, well, that's kind of cute, but we should do it for like, I'm like, I'm gonna do it for my 50th birthday. Be like, I lived half a freaking century. I deserve a drink. Please buy me a drink. You know what I mean? I think that's more accurate to like buy somebody a drink.
True. They lived in long enough. Buy me a drink. I've seen some shit. True. Well, you guys, thank you so much for watching. We had some sneaky ninjas in the house, and I know it was a rather earlier show, but it's going to live on the internet forever, and it will be here. Next week, we have something fantastic planned for you guys. On the 29th, well, on the 20th, actually, we're reviewing the One Dark Night movie review, which is going to debut that Tuesday. And then on the 29th, we do have a live stream with a director of that one house, and we're going to be discussing that film with the director at that time. So those are our two that were, official and in the works. And if you guys want to see anything in particular, feel free to send us an email. We've had a few suggestions for movie reviews, and we'd love to get more on what you guys want to see. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your evening. If you're in the UK, if you're in America, have a good day, because it's still day.
Yeah, it's lunchtime in California and West Coast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
People will be tucking into their sandwiches.
While you're
It's like-
tucking in bed.
Well, yeah, over
the
here,
meats
well,
and cheeses.
if you're a lightweight, you're tucking in bed on a Friday night. Otherwise, you're tucking into crumpets.
Go to the bar. Go to the
Cup of
pub.
tea.
It's perfect. Go to the pub wearing that cosplay. I'm sure you'll get a lot of free drinks, CJ.
I'm going to save it for Halloween. It's always been meant for Halloween, so I just need a spot of red just here.
Nice. And
That's
see how
so
many people
awesome.
say you got red on you.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'll say,
red
right, now
on
you
you.
have to buy me a drink because we become like a drinking game.
Yeah.
Every time
Yes,
someone
yes.
says you got red on you, I'm going to buy me a drink. That's a good idea. I'm gonna
You
say
should. Yeah, that's the new rule, CJ. You have to enforce that rule. All right, everybody.
Brilliant.
Have a wonderful evening. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening to Delight and Fright with your hosts, Luna and Cat, a podcast for outcasts.